أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون فإن تولوا فقل آذنتكم على سواء وإن أدري أقريب أم بعيد ما توعدون إنه يعلم الجهر من القول ويعلم ما تكتمون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. And we have already written in the book of Zabur after the previous mention that the land of paradise is inherited by my righteous servants. Indeed, in this Quran is notification for a worshipping people. And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the worlds. Say, it is only revealed to me that your God is but one God. So will you be Muslims in submission to him. But if they turn away, then say, I have announced to you equally, and I know not whether near or far is that which you are promised. Indeed, he knows what is declared of speech, and he knows what you conceal.
Jazakallah, brother, mashallah. Alhamdulillah, we're going to start the Seerah, inshallah, today on Madinah. Most of you will have studied the Seerah at some level, whether in masjid, whether reading some books. I'm not sure if you can remember, but early last year we started the Meccan series, and we did say we were going to cover the Madinah series at some point. But it's kind of opportune moment. There will be a level coming next month when everybody tries to remember the Prophet ﷺ and his life, his character, his beautiful ways. And inshallah, this is an opportunity for us to do that again. But to do it with a new Ustadh, inshallah, to learn from, and who's very, mashallah, experienced in speaking, in lecturing, in talking. His student background early on was from Madinah itself. He grew up in Madinah. He came to the UK, studied here, in Darul Uloom here in the northwest, and then went back to Madinah, continuing his studies, and then returned again, studied with various shuyukh, including one who most will know, Sheikh Seerah-Tun-Nabi from Oxford, and today, alhamdulillah, he's still living in Rochdale, alhamdulillah. Most of you will have heard of him, heard from him before. He spent quite a few times, he's been here to the masjid quite a few times, and spoke on many occasions. So, inshallah, without further ado, we're going to talk today about the early challenges of the Prophet ﷺ's time in Medina and the campaign of Badr, inshallah. And then the following weeks, we'll cover various aspects. It's not a whole, we're not going to cover every aspect of the Medinan series, which is going to be impossible every week. We have an hour, and then questions and answers at the end of that. If people want to ask questions on other aspects of the seerah, I'm sure the Ustadh would be willing to discuss that. But today, inshallah, we're going to cover some early parts of the Medina series, and then inshallah next week we'll follow on, inshallah.
الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده صاحب التاج والمعراج سيد الإنس والجنات حبيبه برب الأرض والسماوات الذي اسمه مكتوب في الإنجيل والتوراة أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أذن للذين يقاتلون بأنهم ظلموا وإن الله على نصرهم لقدير للذين أخرجوا من ديارهم بغير حق إلا أن يقولوا ربنا الله صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين وكما قال الصلاة والسلام. Respected brothers and sisters listening, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As Brother Imran mentioned, we haven't got a lot of time, so I'll give you a short introduction and a short background and kind of contextualize what I'm going to say, inshallah. But I would like to straight kind of jump into the main bits. Alhamdulillah, you know, we come to lectures, we listen to lectures, we come to the masajid, we learn from the scholars, but the ultimate objective is to better ourselves, to make it easy for ourselves to follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it's always good to understand the messenger first before the message. So learning about the seerah is incumbent upon all of us as Muslims so that we understand the conveyor, the messenger of the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we understand Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and so that we understand how to act upon the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the ultimate objective, and this is the objective of even, you know, understanding and learning about the seerah. And believe me, when you understand the seerah and when you contextualize the ahadith that you hear there, it gives you a different kind of understanding and a much broader understanding. And all the things that we see nowadays, and especially what was recently happened in Peshawar, we come to know that this is lack of knowledge, lack of, you know, correctly understanding deen. And one of the key factors is they haven't understood the messenger, they haven't contextualized what they have read or what they have heard. And I'm not trying to, you know, blame fingers at anyone. I know we've got our own theories, but we're not going to go into politics, as I said, or go into anything side, because we've got a lot to cover. Just to give you an idea, one of our good friends and a famous scholar, Sheikh Yasir Qadi, he has covered Battle of Badr in 10 hours. So you can understand the magnitude that of work that I've got and what I have to cover in an hour. So inshallah, as your previous asatidha and your shuyukh must have told you when they covered Makkah al-Mukarramah, and I'm sure they covered Hijrah as well, as the brothers have informed me. Hijrah was done because of a specific reason. There was, constant threat to life, threat to Muslims in Makkah al-Mukarramah. They were persecuted constantly. We know the famous stories of Bilal radiallahu anhu and all the other Sahaba that were killed and Sahaba that were, as I said, persecuted. So there was a time when the Muslims, they shifted their attention to people outside Makkah al-Mukarramah. And in this, during this time, when they shifted concentration in giving da'wah to people in the outskirts of Makkah al-Mukarramah, those who used to come there for tijara, those who used to come there for business, and amongst them were the Ansar. And Ansar, subhanallah, they took to Islam like a duck takes to water. And it was in their nature, and it's in everyone's nature. Obviously, it's a deen of fitrah. But they were quite easily, the dawah was quite easy with them. And I'll tell you a reason, inshallah, when I talk about Ansar. But Ansar took to it quite well. And Ansar told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can't see you suffering like this now. You know, we've accepted Islam, you are a prophet, we can't see you suffering like this. And then they gave him the mashwara of doing hijrah, and thereafter the spectacle of hijrah took place, which was amazing in itself. How hijrah took place, the miracles that took place during that safar, during that journey, and you come to know the scale or the status of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, because he was the one who was appointed to be the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that blessed journey. And the miracles, as I said, when they passed by that house where there was a goat that wouldn't give milk, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his blessed hand on the goat and said Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and the goat started giving milk. Things like that. There were a lot of stories that happened, a lot of miracles that happened during the hijrah. There was a man who came to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, na'udhu billah, because the Meccans, the Quraysh, the Mushrikeen of Makkah, the people of Makkah, the Kuffar of Makkah, they had set a reward for whoever kills Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 200 camels. And this man came for that reward, and he wanted to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But there was what we have in deserts. I don't know whether you guys have seen deserts, but quicksand. You have quicksand in deserts. I think the brother has just come from Qatar, haven't you? I read your Facebook. Quicksand, and he was sucked into the earth. So these kind of miracles happened when the hijrah took place. Now, when they entered in the outskirts of Madinah Munawwara, the first place Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam set his qiyam was in Quba, which is just in the outskirts of Madinah Munawwara. And there he went because of his maternal relationship. Amina radiallahu anha, Amina, the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she was from Quba. She was from there, and her relatives used to reside there. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed there for a few days, and then they went to Madinah Munawwara on the day of Jum'ah. Now, when they went to Madinah Munawwara on the day of Jum'ah, they passed by an area and they prayed the Jum'ah. They didn't pray it in Masjid Nabi because obviously it was not established by then. The first mosque established under Islam was Quba, because that's where they read their salah. But then when they were going to Madinah Munawwara, they had to do their Jum'ah. So they came to this place and in an area of Banu Sulaim. And there they did Jum'ah. It's between Masjid al-Quba. Those of you who have been to Madinah Munawwara, you know Masjid Quba to the Haram. Nowadays it probably takes about 15 minutes drive. But between that there's a place, it's called Masjid Jum'ah until now. That's where the first Jum'ah took place. That's where the first Salatul Jum'ah took place. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave a very beautiful, very lengthy khutbah there, known as Khutbatul Taqwa. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was trying to instill this beautiful quality of taqwa amongst people, because you got to understand, this is a new community now. We have shifted from Makkatul Mukarramah. So when you listen to Seerah, as I said, you have to contextualize and you have to imagine you're there. This is how you're really going to feel it and really understand it, and inshallah this is what is going to help you implement it in your lives. So we have moved, we have done the hijrah now, and now in Quba, and now we are coming into Madinah Munawwara. And before we come into Madinah Munawwara, we have stopped in Masjid al-Jum'ah, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given a khutbah. Now this is a new community has to be built. And wherever we go, when we need to build, this is a very important lesson for building communities. Building communities, building unity and brotherhood amongst Muslims. The first and foremost basic factor that will enhance or that will help us build a community is taqwa, the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was trying to instill amongst people. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam generally, whenever he gave khutbahs, whenever he gave sermons, taqwa was something he really emphasized on. And this is why, according to a lot of scholars, even in your Jum'ah, when you do khutbah, if you don't talk about taqwa, your khutbah is not done. Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, that's not a condition according to his madhab, but Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, according to his madhab, that is a condition, and according to a lot of other scholars as well. So now they did in Banu Salim, they did this khutbatul taqwa, and then they went towards Madinah Munawwara. Now you have to imagine, if a sheikh, for example, from Masjid al-Aqsa, or Sheikh Shuraim, or Sheikh Sudais, comes to the Nili Mosque. Just imagine how much preparation. I'm sure there'll be more people than what we have today, but there'll be a lot of the people will be excited, right? Just imagine. I'm not trying to compare, but just imagine the preparation, and imagine there's a big sheikh coming to Nili Mosque, coming to Rochdale, a big sheikh, the Imam of Makkatul Mukarramah is coming to Rochdale. A massive, people will be preparing, shops will, be all glittered and whatever. Just imagine. Or if you talk about from worldly perspective, imagine the Queen came to Rochdale. Imagine the Queen came to Rochdale. So this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the prophet of prophets, the leader of mankind, a person who has been appointed the leader of prophets, the leader of mankind, who has been taken in Mi'raj, has been taken to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the greatest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, and he's coming to Madinah Munawwara, and these people understood it. These people understood it. People of Madinah Munawwara understood it. So they are all excited. They are all, in an element, ecstatic. And people have prepared all foods, and there are people singing outside. People are saying to each other, "Ja Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam," because they know, they used to send their own sort of messengers to see where have they reached, have they come, and then he would return. Oh, they're close now. They're coming. So they knew he was very close, and they said, "Oh, Ja Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam." It was like a buzz. They didn't need any social network or anything of that sort. They just it was spreading like wildfire. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is coming, and everyone's ready. Everyone's there to welcome him. There are people who are who are doing all this entertainment. People from Habasha, they're showing off with their skills, and there are little girls singing "Tala'al Badru alayna min thaniyatil wada," the famous nasheed that we hear even now. That the what's Badr? You know what Badr means? What does Badr mean? Not the battle of Badr. What does Badr mean? Moon. Moon is usually Qamar. Qamar is the word for moon. But Badr is the moon on the 14th. Full moon. And this is what they were saying. The full moon has come upon us, as in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tala al-badru alayna min thaniyatil wada' wajaba shukru alayna. That it's incumbent upon us to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sending Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to us. There are little girls singing. So you can imagine the whole place was really, they were all excited. And it was really happening at that time. So these people, can you imagine now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has entered Madinah Munawwara. And these little girls are singing, people are getting excited, people are saying, "Ja Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes, he has finally come, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is here." Now everyone's, you can imagine everyone's dying for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come to their house. Or we want Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come to our house. We want Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come to our house. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Listen, what I'll do is, I'll just set my camel free. Wherever this camel stops, that's where I'll go." And where did the camel stop? Does anyone know? Whose house?
Abu Ayyub al-Ansari.
Well done, mashallah. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, radiyallahu anhu. And he was also a distant relative of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted the camel to actually stop in Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, radiyallahu anhu's house. And now let's talk about Ansar a bit. Do you know Al-Ansar, Nasara means help, and this is why they were known as the helpers, because they helped the Muslims at the time when they needed the most. But these people, there was a king of Yemen a couple of hundred years before this. Let's go back in time now. Now we are at the beginning of Hijri here, but we have to go back a couple of hundred years. And there was a king of Tuba. King of Tuba from Yemen. This guy was like Alexander. He wanted to conquer the world. But he was a good man at the same time. So he had a lot of, scholars with him, who he would seek consult from, who he would consult, who he would seek mashwara from. So he had 400 scholars with him. And these 400 scholars, when they reached Madinah Munawwara, they said, we want to stay in Madinah Munawwara because this is where the last prophet is going to come. And he granted them that wish. And he gave them so much, he gave them money to build houses. And Ansar are the children of these 400 scholars. So this is why Ansar, what we see, the characteristics we see, is because their forefathers were very, very pious. And it's a lesson to us as parents, obviously your genes do go into your children, we know that through science, but also your characteristics. Your characteristics. A lot of people come, our children don't pray Salah. Do you pray Salah? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. Do we pray Salah? If we pray Salah, and then our children don't, then yes, we need to take other measures. But sometimes we need to instill the characteristics in us first, and then we can, we need to be role models for our kids before we ask the kids to, do something good. So, khair. So Ansar are children of these 400 scholars, and one of these scholars had written a letter saying to his children that if I don't see this prophet, give this letter. The king of Tuba had given a letter to one of the scholars saying, if I don't see this prophet, but I do believe in him, so please pass this letter on if you see him. Obviously they passed away, so they passed on to the children, and the last person it got passed to was Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes there and he gets that letter which says, I believe in you, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I bear witness that you are the last prophet. So subhanallah, so it was all obviously planned from above, and how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes to Abu Ayyub al-Ansari's house is all subhanallah, it's amazing. Now, obviously Madinah Munawwara did not only have Ansar in them, they had a big community of Jews. The Jewish people, those who had not become Muslim, they came because you got to understand, before the Ansar became Muslim, Ansar and the Jews, they used to have this constant fight or debate that we will have, the Jewish people used to say, we will have the last prophet from amongst our children and he'll come to Medina. So they used to be very proud of it, the Jewish people. So when the Ansar, when their businessmen found Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Makkah al-Mukarramah, they were like, yes, 1-0, we've got him. So we got to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam first. So this is why Ansar were really proud to have Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now the Jewish people, they said, okay, is this the prophet? Even though they knew the last prophet was coming, still a lot of them still were stubborn and they did not want to believe in him. They said, no, he can't be a non-Jew. But they still went to him. Some went with a very clear intent, with a clear intention that if he says the right thing, if he answers our questions, we'll believe in him. So they asked him, there were tests after tests on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is this? What is that? What do you say? Do you say something different to the other prophets? And all these tests came, and some people believed after these tests, and some people did not. And one of them was Hussein. Hussein was a scholar who later on became a Sahabi called Abdullah ibn Salam radiyallahu anhu. Abdullah ibn Salam radiyallahu anhu. Now, Hussein was a Jewish scholar, and he was waiting for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was coming, he was waiting in the hills to have a look at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He wanted to see whether he is the real deal. He is the real prophet. Let me see if he is the real prophet. So when he seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as soon as he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, he is definitely the real prophet. But now he wanted to hear, for his own itminan, he wanted to hear from Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, as soon as he came, Ayyuhan nas, afshu salam, wa at'imu at-ta'am, wa silu al-arham, wa sallu bil-layli wan-nasu niyam, tadkhulu al-jannata bis-salam. Subhanallah, beautiful hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when he came, he heard Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, spread peace, spread salam amongst you, spread peace, say assalamu alaikum to each other. Wa at'imu at-ta'am, and feed each other. Wasil al-arham, and be, and enjoying relationships. Be good to your relatives. Wasallu bil-layli wan-nasu niyam, that pray when others are sleeping. Pray at night when others are sleeping. Like pray your tahajjud. Always seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help. If you do these things, you will enter Jannah without any difficulty. Now, again, the idea here is that we are building a community. We've just come here and we are building a community. We need to set the ground rules. So, whoever is doing community work, we're all doing community work here. So we should understand that the basis or the platform on which a successful community can be built is brotherhood, is unity. Look at our context today. We are a million miles away from all this. And believe me, I have, like the brother said, I've studied with a number of scholars. And from different, I don't like to use the word sects, but from different denominations, from different school of thoughts. And they all say the same thing. Honestly, they all say the same thing. But today, I've recently, alhamdulillah, I was at Hajj, and we see Muslims from everywhere. I know everyone says that we see Muslims from everywhere, all races, all backgrounds, and subhanAllah is beautiful. It's we stand united, and it's amazing to see all that. And it is, believe me, when you feel it, you would know what I'm saying. It's amazing to see that. But when we come back and we go back to the same, my way or the highway, that is where the problem is. This is why we are a million miles away from the Ansar and the Muhajirin. What brought them together, the success of the Battle of Badr, was based on this, based on unity. Rasulullah ﷺ instilled this unity amongst them, instilled this brotherhood amongst them, and this is what brought the success. The success you see today is a result of that unity. The success that you see today, 1 point whatever billion people, Muslims, all that success is because of their sacrifice. And that sacrifice and that, that success and this success was based on unity, based on brotherhood. First and foremost thing you do, you don't say you're from here, that this is why you're a bit lower than us, you're a bit higher than us, derogatory comments, derogatory remarks, you're from this sect, you're from this denomination. The thing is, I know there are people out there, there are sects out there who claim to be Muslims and they have got completely wacky aqidah. I understand that. But the parameters of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, let's concentrate on that. Why have you constricted it so much? My way or the highway. Let's widen that, because that's really wide. I told you I've studied with a lot of them, and they all say the same thing. So Rasulullah ﷺ was building a community, and it was based on salam, on peace between each other, brotherhood. There was brotherhood pairing by Rasulullah ﷺ. The Sahaba were paired amongst themselves. So this Muhajir goes with this Ansar. Remember, these people, the Muhajirin, they were persecuted in Makkah al-Mukarramah. They have already sacrificed a lot. They've left their families, they've left everything. Their wealth, a lot of them were really rich. They've left all that for the sake of Islam, to support Rasulullah ﷺ. And now, what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did was paired them with Ansar so that they can have some sort of support. And Ansar being Ansar, subhanallah, were amazing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave them so that they can have some support. But what Ansar did in return, how they acted upon the suggestion or upon the command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was something else. They made them their real brothers. They really took them as brothers. So much so that their wealth, they halved it with them. Everything they had, they halved them with them. If someone had 2 wives, he would say, brother, you married one of my wives, I'll divorce her. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing to do. It's not small. We hear this time and time again. Just imagine. Imagine what they did. It was massive. It was something really, really big. So khair, this was how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was instilling unity and brotherhood amongst the Sahaba and amongst the Muhajirin and Ansar, and this is how the community, the Ummah, the nation was building. So the next step that they took now was building of Masjid al-Nabawi. There are a lot of things that happen in the middle. As I said, there's not enough time to go in detail of every single aspect of Seerah. I wish we could, but we haven't got enough time. Inshallah, in the future we'll hopefully have a more detailed Seerah series. But construction of Masjid al-Nabawi was another important step in the Seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was a plot of land in front of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu's house, and this plot of land belonged to Sahal and Suhail, 2 orphans. These orphans, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we want to give you this land to build a mosque. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was looking for this plot and looking for a plot to build a mosque, and they came to know about it. They said, we want to give it to you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being the Ameen he is, any of us would have taken advantage of that. Oh, they've given it to us. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, I want to talk to your guardian. Someone who knows what he's talking about, someone who will negotiate with me. And this guardian came, he negotiated a price. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu paid the price, and then they bought this plot of land, and there was, Masjid al-Nabawi was constructed. One very important lesson in Masjid al-Nabawi while it was being constructed was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was helping the Sahaba radiallahu anhum to build the masjid. Uncooked bricks, what do you call it in Urdu? Kacha makan. That's what it was. Uncooked. Kachi inte. Makan to kacha. Kachi inte. Kachi inte, and it was uncooked bricks. And palm trees. Palm trees were the pillars and uncooked bricks around them. So this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was helping the Sahaba make it. He was not saying, like today's, mashallah, shuyukh, some of them, they say, you do this, and while I sit and get fat. That was not how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is leadership. Leadership, when you lead from the front. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the mix, and let's build the mosque together. So they built the mosque, and this is why some of the scholars, they say the mosque must have been uncooked, or it must have been very weak, the structure, but their hearts were very strong. And this is why Iqbal says, I'm a bit under pressure now, Uncle might correct me again for Urdu, but Iqbal says, Iqbal bada updeshak hai, man baaton mein moh leta. गुफ्तार का गाजी बन तो गया किरदार का गाजी बन न सका मस्जिद तो बना दी शब्बर में ईमा की हरारत वालों में मन अपना पुराना पापी है बरसों में नमाजी बन न सका. This is what is referred to. That Iqbal is really he's very happy with himself because he has become a warrior when he comes to speaking, but his character he's not become a warrior of. He goes, we Muslims today, we make the mosque, we make brilliant mosques, brilliant masjids, brilliant masajid. They look amazing. When it comes to the Fajr Salah, how many safs do we have? This is the question we need to ask. It's not about the structures. It's not about your mosque costs 3 million, costs 5 million. It's about the people inside. You need people. You need those strong-willed people who will be, who are ready to work in the community, who are ready to give da'wah. I'm talking in today's context. Who are ready to go out there and speak to people, invite them to Islam. Mashallah, brothers here are quite workaholic in that sense. But I mean, everywhere else, we need proactive people. That's what we need. This is what's important, rather than the structure. Structure could be small, but if you have proactive brothers, this is what matters, inshallah. And in this masjid was a place between the mimbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Someone made the mimbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How many? MashaAllah, you've got the sunnah mimbar here, MashaAllah. This Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the beginning used to give khutbah and he used to sort of lean on this palm tree. But then someone made a mimbar for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which had 3 steps. And there's a story behind that as well. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to sit on the 3rd step. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu came, he sat on the 2nd step out of respect. Umar radiallahu anhu sat on the 1st step. Then Uthman radiallahu anhu also sat on the 1st step. But then they had to put the mimbars up 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps because the crowd got bigger and bigger. Khair. So the mimbar, but between the mimbar and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's house, ma bayna bayti wa mimbari rawdatun min riyadil jannah. There's a hadith about Masjid-Nabawi. How long? There's a place between the mimbar and the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was literally is this much distance from here to this to that pillar. Now this is a part of Jannah. Was it, according to some scholars, it was sent from Jannah. It was sent from Jannah, and according to some scholars, it is a place which will go to Jannah. Now, there's a very interesting story. Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, when he used to go to this place in the Rawdah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to make a dua there. And everyone who goes there should make this dua because it's a very special and a very cheeky dua, but it's a very nice dua as well. He used to say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, you have said that whenever someone enters Jannah, you will never take him out. So today I'm entering Jannah, do not take me out of here. So subhanallah. So when you go to the Rawdah of Rasulullah, make this dua that Allah, you've given us the opportunity to enter Jannah now, so do not take us out of it, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us all to Jannah, inshallah. Then the houses of Ummahat were also created, where you see the safs nowadays, the Imam and the 3-4 safs. That's where the houses of Ummahatul Mu'mineen, the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were made. And initially there was only 2 for Sauda radiallahu anha and for Aisha radiallahu anha. But then obviously as Azwaj increased, then the houses increased as well. Now, Masjid al-Nabawi, there have been instances and incidents where people try to steal the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You must have heard of them. What's happened? There's a sort of a metal wall around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grave, and this was made by a Khalifa named Waleed, and he made it to protect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because there have been incidents about 3 times. This has happened in the history when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's body was. People try to steal Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's body for different reasons. I can't go in detail, they're all long stories, but usually it was because of, because people used to go to Madinah Munawwara, the footfall in Madinah Munawwara was so much that all the businesses used to be very good and people wanted those businesses in their places. Obviously these are all really wrong reasons and people tried to steal the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But each time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected it. Someone had a dream one day, in one incident, a king in Egypt had a dream and he came in 16 days. He came from Egypt to Madinah Munawwara to protect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grave. And there was also been incidents when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar radiallahu anhu's graves were by the Rawafid. They tried to take their graves. Khair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, alhamdulillah, always protected it. Masjid-Nabawi altogether until now, it has been extended about 10 times. Twice in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, once in the 2nd Hijri and once in the 7th Hijri. And after that, it has been extended 8 more times, and the latest one by the former king of Saudi Arabia, King Fahd. During this time, what also happened, before we make the build-up to Badr, what also happened was the hukum of adhan came. You know, Muslims used to, whenever the time of prayer was there, they used to gather together and they used to pray. This was the normal practice. You know, they used to come together, they knew roughly what time it's going to be, they used to wait, and then, you know, if it was kneeling once, you would have been in trouble. Very particular about the timing, mashallah, it's very good. But khair, at that time what used to happen is they used to all gather somewhat, you know, during this time, the prayers are going to be there, so we'll come and we'll pray. And remember, the rakats increased as well. The rakats increased, I'm hinting that I'm going to go for a long haul here. So the rakats increased as well. Before, it used to be only 2 rakats each time. And then when we came to Madinah Munawwara, there were added rakats, apart from Maghrib obviously, but there were added rakats in Dhuhr and Asr and Isha. Adhan, it was a beautiful incident. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked the Sahaba what should happen. You know, give us a mashwara, give us, you know. He used to consult the Sahaba. He had a habit of seeking mashwara from the Sahaba. It's another sunnah that we should act upon. Always don't think, you know, my way, you know, this is what, if I think this way, this is my decision, I have to do it. A lot of the times, what tends to happen, not all imams, but some imams do have this habit of you know, if I make a decision for the community, and they do it for a reason. I'm not saying the reasons are always malicious, but they think if I start, you know, being bendy or flexible, then this person is going to say something, this person is going to say something, which makes sense. So that's why you should have a shura in the masjid, and you should always consult, and you should always do mashwara. It's a sunnah of Rasul. And in all aspects of your life, you know, whether it's business, whether it's some family problem or some family situation, you should always do mashwara. There's a lot of barakah, a lot of khair. And even, apparently, if the decision you have made is wrong, which we'll come to know later when we talk about Badr, but because you have done mashwara, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in it. Wallahi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in it. So if you have made a wrong decision, because we're human beings at the end of the day, someone can give a mashwara, I like it, and then we do that. And it could be a wrong decision, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in it that it becomes right. SubhanAllah. So it's a beautiful thing, mashwara. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sought consultation from the Sahaba, and he asked them, what do you think? So some said, oh, we should, you know, some different instruments, sort of, you know, musical instruments, we should call on that. We should call people. Some gave that mashwara. Some said we should just shout out. Different mashwara was given, but nothing was decided. And then a Sahabi named Abdullah ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu, he saw a dream. He saw that there's a man wearing green clothes, he's walking, and he has got this instrument, which one Sahabi had suggested. He's got this instrument, and he's walking along. And he goes to him, he goes, can I have that instrument, please? The man asked, why do you want this instrument? He said, I want it so that I can call people towards salah, towards prayers. So the man said, shall I tell you something better? He said, yes, of course. He goes, then he said the adhan, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and the whole adhan. And he comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam running next to it. This is what I saw in my dream. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this looks haqq, this dream. This is right. Inshallah. And he said inshallah not because he did not believe in it being haqq. He said inshallah as tabarrukan. Sometimes you just say inshallah, you know, when you're happy with something, you just say inshallah. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, then the adhan went off. He said, say to Bilal, because Bilal's got a loud voice, and Bilal will give the adhan in Madinah Munawwara. And he gave the adhan. When he gave the adhan, Umar radiallahu anhu heard the adhan. Umar radiallahu anhu came running to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I saw the same thing in my dream. So that confirmed that, subhanAllah, this was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is how the practice of adhan started in towards the end of first Hijri. Now, moving on to the second Hijri, a lot of things happened, but now the tide was shifting. You got to understand, and this is something I wanted to discuss with all of you and talk to all of you about. Makkah Mukarramah was a time when Muslims weren't even allowed to fight in self-defense. If Muslims were being persecuted, were being hit, they were not allowed to fight back. No BBC, CNN will tell you this. They were not allowed to fight back, right? They were not allowed to fight back. Now, Muslims were being persecuted, and they were really, really very, very, persecuted to a level where you can't even imagine it. But now the tide was shifting. Now Muslims were at last granted that you can fight back. Now you can fight back. Because you've come, you are secure now, you're a bit more powerful. And remember this, we are reading into it from a historic perspective. We are reading the Seerah, so and if you read the history of any nation, you read the history of Britain, you will see wars and you will see, battles. And that is a perspective we are looking at it from at this moment in time. How to contextualize it in today's society, we'll do it inshallah probably later on today or in one of the sessions, in one of these 4 sessions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse, أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى نَصْرِهِمْ لَقَدِيرٌ الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ إِلَّا أَنْ يَقُولُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ. First verse, which allowed Muslims to basically fight back or fight. They were allowed to fight in self-defense or fight with people who had oppressed them. So the tide was shifting. So Muslims could fight and could do these battles because that was the norm at the time. At the time, that was the norm. And there were 2 words that are used in the Seerah, is Ghazwa and Sariyah. The difference is in Ghazwa, both are battles, both are wars, but Ghazwa is a bit more bigger on scale. At the same time, Rasulullah ﷺ attended it. And Sariyah is probably smaller on scale, and Rasulullah ﷺ did not enter. Roughly, there have been about 20 Ghazawat, 20 battles where Rasulullah ﷺ also was part of it, and roughly about 40 Sariyah when Rasulullah ﷺ wasn't part of it. Remember, all these does not mean they ended up as big battles. A lot of them were, called off. A lot of them, when Muslims went there, the other party had moved back. They did not come to the battlefield. And a lot of the times there was a truce. So all these were not full-fledged battles. But roughly, this is how many were advertised as battles, if I can use that word. Now, Rasulullah ﷺ sent these Sariyah, sent these people if someone's haqq was taken, if there was always hikmah behind all these battles. And one of them, what used to happen is, now this is the build up to Badr basically. What used to happen is Muslims, while being in Madinah Munawwara, even though they were showered with love from Ansar, but they were never at peace. Not only because they were missing Makkatul Mukarramah, and that was a given, they were missing Makkatul Mukarramah. Initially, I said there was a lot of things we did not cover, how difficult initially it was to, live in Madinah Munawwara, the temperature, to acclimatize with Madinah Munawwara. It was not easy. But then Rasulullah ﷺ made the dua, and there was a lot of things that we haven't covered. But Madinah Munawwara, the reason there wasn't peace was because the mushrikeen of Makkah, they were still at it. They wanted to capture Muslims who had left Makkatul Mukarramah, and they wanted to kill them. They still wanted to, persecute them. When you persecute someone, when you have that power to do so, it becomes a habit. It becomes an evil habit. And these people wanted to do that. And they also had this pride issue. How dare they escape from us? And how dare they building something? How dare they are building a community? Now, what they used to do is all their businessmen, they used to travel to Syria. A lot of them used to travel to Syria, Sham, to do their business. And their transit used to be Madinah Munawwara. It was on the way. If you look at the map, Syria is in the north, Makkah al-Mukarramah, and Medina in the middle. So in Madinah Munawwara used to be their transit. So they used to come and they used to stay with other friends of theirs, and they used to stay there. And sometimes they used to even speak to the Muslims, who have left, if they still are on friendly terms. But some of them were very deceptive. Before they would leave, they would burn the animals and burn the farm and burn the crops. So the Sahaba used to say that first couple of years, we used to sleep without weapons. That's how, there was no peace. That's how constant fear of life. There was constant fear of life, constant fear of, a mal, constant fear of wealth, constant fear of families. There used to be all this fear, so they never lived in peace. And that's not a good state to be in. Ask the Muslims of Palestine of today. Ask the Muslims of Gaza. Ask the Muslims of Syria. Ask how they're living, and you'll understand what I mean. This constant fear, this depresses you. It really, burns you from inside. It kills you from inside. Fear and this constant fear is harder. It's harder to survive that than any physical harm. So Muslims, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent this Sariyah, sent this small army of 8 people, like an intelligence, and they were doing it the other way as well. They used to send their own intelligence, their own people. They used to send them and see informers basically. So these people, they went to a place called Maqam al-Nakhla. Maqam al-Nakhla, does anyone know where Maqam al-Nakhla is? Where this place Nakhla is? Does anyone know? Your previous shuyukh must have told you when they discussed Taif. They must have mentioned Nakhla, a place. Okay, fair enough. Anyone? No? Okay. Nakhla was a place where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after the incident where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was stoned, and where he, when he was coming back, when he sat and when he recited the Quran to the jinns, that was Maqam al-Nakhla. So this is where the Sahaba was sent to inform the outgoings and inform about what people of Makkah are doing, because people of Makkah, remember, they were always constantly preparing to topple these Muslims, to kill these Muslims. So it was in protection, so this is allowed. To protect, in order to protect yourselves, you can send intelligence informers and see what they're doing. These people were in this place, and there were 8 of them, 8 to 10 different narrations, 8 to 10 of them. So while they're, trying to find out what people of Makkah, what the mushrikeen of Makkah are plotting against the Muslims, they see these 2 people and with 200 animals. And they say, because remember, this was war zone now. It was war zone. They were still at each other's throats. And not each other's, but they were at Muslims. They really wanted to kill the Muslims. They really wanted to just eradicate Muslims. And they had already killed a lot of their animals, as I said, and a lot of their wealth was taken, the Muslims, and the wealth of Ansar was taken. So these 8 people, they seen these 2 people with 200 animals. They said, this is our time to get some of our wealth back. So there was no bloodshed. They captured these 2 men. Remember, this is a war zone. It's, at war, completely fair. Even the people of Makkah acknowledged it was fair later on. This is why I'm saying it was completely fair. And they took And they sent these animals and these 2 people to Madinah Munawwara. There was a big propaganda. The propaganda that we see today, similar propaganda there. The mushrikeen of Makkah, they put this propaganda up. The Muslims, what they did to us was, in a Rajab, they caught our men. And all the other tribes are saying, in Rajab? How can they do that in Rajab? Because in that area, there was Ashhurul Hurum, the 4 sacred months when you could not fight. This was a unanimous treaty amongst the Arabs. Even the Muslims would adhere to that. The Ashhurul Hurum. And this came from Ibrahim alayhi salam's time. So no one would fight in Rajab and no one would fight in Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and which month? Does anyone know? Muharram. In Muharram. And they said, in Rajab you took our men. They said, no, we did it in Sha'ban. It was the first of Sha'ban. So a bit of moon fighting there as well, eh? So they said, no, you have. So this propaganda was spread. So the build-up to Badr, this is where it started. Now, they were really, really, spreading it, and the tribes, as I said, were asking, how dare they do this? And in the midst of this, when these 2 captives came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba were again asked, what should we do with them? But eventually Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being rahmatul lil alameen, said, we'll set them free. These 2 people who persecuted Muslims, people who persecuted and kicked them out of Makkatul Mukarramah, kicked them out of their homeland, they were forgiven and they were set free. And one of them, as soon as he was set free, he took ghusl, came back and accepted Islam and said the Shahada. Subhanallah. Now, remember the spark, the fire has been set, lit. It's lit. It's the kuffar started it, but now the Muslims, when they capture these people, the Makkans are very, very angry. They want to kill Muslims even more now. And what they do is, they say, we'll send Abu Sufyan, who was who later on obviously became a Muslim, the father of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. He said, we will send Abu Sufyan to Syria, to Sham, with all the wealth of Makkah. With the wealth of Makkah, he went to Syria to sell it and then to get profit. And with that profit, we'll set aside a share and then we'll fight the Muslims. Then we'll come really, really hard on Muslims. This was the plan of Makkans. When Abu Sufyan was returning, this was the plan of the mushrikeen of Makkah. When Abu Sufyan was returning, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to know about this plan, because remember, they had the intelligence. They all had intelligence, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously we had the wahi as well, but the intelligence came back and said, this is what the kuffar of Makkah are planning, and Abu Sufyan has got this, and he's got the wealth of all the people of Makkah, and he's returning with all the profit, and they are going to set aside a share with which they will fight the Muslims. Abu Sufyan, he came to know through his intelligence that the Muslims have come to know, and Muslims will be coming here anytime. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is happening all together, so stick with me. We're coming towards the end, but stick with me. Just contextualize, be there, you're there now, in Saudi, right now. So you, on one hand, the Sahaba, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling the Sahaba, this is what the people of Makkah are doing, right time to strike them, because they are taking ammunition. It's their ammunition really, it's their wealth, but that's the ammunition that they're going to use against the Muslims. So if we strike now, if we be proactive, and remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given them the ijazah, given them the permission to fight now. And the declaration of jihad, basically, jihad came into Islam. Now when we speak about jihad, even now all of you are thinking, what's this guy talking about? He's being recorded and he's talking about jihad. Let me tell you something. Firstly, I'm a responsible person, yeah? Secondly, we can't shy away from something in our deen. You gotta understand this. You can't shy away from something. there is the jihad is mentioned in Islam, there's no doubt about it. But people have misinterpreted it. Yes, we understand that. But jihad, if understood in its context, and if it understood properly, is a beautiful thing. And how my teacher explained to me, and this, never shy away from it. If anyone asks you outside as well, don't shy away from it. Reply to them. Because if you shy away, the moment you shy away, the opportunity of dawah is gone. You're going to say, oh, this guy's hiding something. Right? So, Islam, we always say, is a way of life. Islam is a way of life. And when it's a way of life, we build communities, we build nations. We can build nations according to the Constitution of Islam. And no nation can survive successfully without an army. So in Islam, because it's a way of life, it's not only a religion, we are also told how to structure an army. If you have to build a nation, you have to have an army. So Islam also tells you how to have an army. Like the British Constitution tells you, any constitution tells you, you have a budget for an army. Every country, England exists with an army, UK exists with an army, France exists with an army. So if there is a Muslim nation, we're not trying to say Sharia in UK, we're not saying that. And I'm not a big advocate of that, unless, because in order to, Sharia has got maqasid, Sharia has got objectives. We concentrate on objectivity. And how can you achieve the objectives if you do not believe in something? So I'm not a big advocate myself, personally, it's my personal understanding, because people out here, they're not Muslims, so why should there be something thrust upon them? Some people make a big hoo-ha out of it. I don't think it's right, personally. So Sharia, so Islam also, if there's a country run by the constitution that Islam prescribes, then we also have an army, and that fighting is called jihad, and that's of two types. I'm not going to shy away. It's of two types. It's defensive and offensive. And defensive is, which no country, no nation, no human being would say is wrong, is when someone attacks you and you fight back. Offensive also, from an Islamic perspective, is to create peace. How, if you come to know like this, if you like this exactly what's happening in the build-up to Badr, they come to know that they are plotting against Muslims and they're plotting against us, they're going to kill us, they're going to kill our families, then you become proactive. If you know there's a lion next door and he's going to kill all the men and women and children here, then you be proactive and do something about it. So that's also no one can say that's wrong. So this is what jihad in a nutshell is in Islam. It's a beautiful thing. You can, some people do misinterpret it, like what we have seen it, if they have done it, if they have, wallahu alam, what's happened there, but if they have done it, then if they have misinterpreted jihad, then they've misinterpreted it in a very, very bad way, because one of the key adabs and one of the key aspects of jihad is not to kill women and children. So if you have killed children in the name of jihad, then you have not understood jihad. I don't know what book you are reading, but that's definitely not jihad. Khair. So Muslims come to know Abu Sufyan is coming with this wealth. Now Muslims are gathering, there are 313 of them. They want to go there and attack Abu Sufyan and take his wealth. No bloodshed. They are going with the mindset that we will capture the wealth that is going to be used against us. Abu Sufyan comes to know, he hires a guide and he tells him, take me from a route which no one would know. To that, so I know Muslims are coming towards me, but I want to go from a different route so that Muslims can't see me. And at the same time, he sends an envoy, he sends a messenger to Makkah Mukarramah, telling the Quraysh of Makkah, telling the Mushrikeen of Makkah that Muslims are coming to attack me and Muslims have come to know about our plan. Now, as soon as this guy was very corrupt, this guy was he was quite evil himself. This messenger. So he goes, before he goes to Makkah Mukarramah, he puts blood on himself, and he says, "Look what Muslims have done to me. You know, look, this is what Muslims have done to me, and Muslims are coming. Muslims are going to come, and they're going to take all your wealth." Now remember, all these people have invested. It's not only a case of pride. It's not only a case of Muslims against the mushrikeen. It's not only a case of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a case of big wonga. It's a case of money now, and they have invested in it. They have invested money into this plan, and this money will be taken away. And when it comes to wealth, you know what human beings can do, right? So this war has become even more. There's more fuel that has been put into this fire now. So the Makkans, the Mushrikeen of Makkah decided, Abu Jahl leading them, saying that we will fight. What we'll do is we'll go to Medina. We'll kill all of them. Let's all get ready. Let's all get ready, and we'll kill Muslims. And he's proper, pushing it. Because this messenger is, look what they have done to our messenger. They're going to take our wealth. They're going to take everything. This is the right time. So about 1,000 of them. Some of them did try to, because one of the Sahabi, he came to know. He had a friend in Madinah Munawwarah who used to come to his house. Who was a Sahabi who used to come to this man's house. And this man was told that you'll be killed in a battle by a Sahabi, because I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying. So he was really concerned. He goes, I don't want to go. I don't want to go because I've come to know there will be a battle and I'll die in it. So he was trying to go away, but Abu Jahl, he really forced him to come and fight in this battle. Now understand this: what thinking and what mentality do Muslims have at this moment? They are going to capture the wealth of Abu Sufyan, 3-4 people. They're going to capture their wealth. And the reason they have so many people is for the wealth, not for people, not for fighting. So they've got about 70 odd camels and horses, 72 camels, 313 people, no weapons, hardly any weapons, few swords, few sticks, and those swords and sticks are just, in case there's a bandit on the way or anything of that sort. Not for a full-fledged war. They're not going to fight. This is the mentality that this is the mindset that Muslims are going with to meet Abu Sufyan. But Kuffar on the other side, the Mushrikeen of Makkah on the other side, how they are going with the mindset, it's a full-blown war for them. They are coming to fight. They're armored, they've got the armor and they've got everything. They're all prepared for a war. So these are two mindsets. Now, on the way, what happens is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam hears about the battle. I'm rushing through it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam hears about the battle, and he says they have come to fight, and he comes to know the detour that Abu Sufyan has taken, and basically they were all meeting up in a place called Badr. Now, again, Prophet ﷺ asked the Sahaba, you tell me, what do you want to do? Do you want to fight? Or, we're not prepared for a war. Do you want to fight, or we can go back? If the Sahaba had said we'll go back, they could have gone back. Obviously, the Kuffar, the Mushrikeen of Makkah had plans to come to Medina then and to kill them. On the way, Abu Sufyan sends another envoy to the people of Makkah saying, we don't need you to come now. We are safe now. We'll come back with the wealth. Abu Jahl says, no way. No way now. We are all prepared. Somehow I've got them together. We want to kill Muhammad, na'udhu billah, and we want to kill the Muslims. Abu Jahl is saying that, and they're not backing down, so they are coming full-fledged war. That's what they want. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu says to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, asked, he goes, whatever you do, we'll follow you. Umar radiallahu anhu says, whatever you do, we'll follow you. Sa'ad radiallahu anhu says, we'll follow you even if it's walking on the seas, going through the mountain, we'll follow you. This was the conviction, this was the iman the Sahaba had, radiallahu anhum. Then there was a Sahabi, there was a Sahabi named Miqdad bin Aswad, radiallahu anhu. And he said a very, excuse me. He said a very, very beautiful thing. He said, we won't tell you what the people of Musa alayhi salam told them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we won't tell you that. We won't tell you, you and your Lord fight them. We'll tell you, you and your Lord fight, and we'll be with you. That's what we do. So these kind of words, the Sahaba were, the reliance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was amazing. They were 100%, whatever happens, we will fight. So both sides on the 17th of Ramadan, and this Abu Sufyan news came to Muslims at the beginning of Ramadan. On the 17th of Ramadan, Muslims fasting came face to face with 1,000 kuffar. Night before this, imagine, you have come to know they're 1,000, you have come to know they've got armors, they've got weapons, they've got everything. The pressure is such, they know, they are bloodthirsty. They want to kill you. If they can, they want to mutilate your bodies. They want to kill you. They want to give you the most ruthless death. And they're 1,000. The ratio is 3 to 1 and 100 spare. That's the ratio. 313 Sahaba and 1,000 kuffar. Am I right? That's the ratio. Why are you looking at me? I thought I was wrong. And my maths is not that good. So this is the ratio, and this is what you're fighting against. Now, can someone sleep the night before? If we have a flight the next day, my Ustadh, Mufti Shabir, we used to always say, people complain about praying Fajr, and people complain about, we can't wake up for Fajr. But if their flight's at 4 in the morning, they wake up automatically. There's so much pressure, you don't even go sleep. So, this pressure, that rationally speaking, is definite death next day, right? You're going to die next day. This is what your brain will tell you. No one will be able to go sleep. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descended sakina upon Sahaba. Such sakina that all of them slept like babies. Subhanallah. Apart from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who stood up all night crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say, Ya Allah, this is your deen. You don't need us. You don't need anyone. You don't need people worshipping you. And tomorrow, it can all come to an end. All the sacrifices and everything. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam cried and cried and cried all night to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant them victory. So, after Fajr Salah, the Sahaba are told to line up in safs, in sufuf. One of the Sahabi, at that time, this tension, you're going into war. One of the Sahabi, he sticks out. But there was a lot of tension, a lot of frustration. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his stick, he says, I said, go in the saf. And he touches him on his stomach. The Sahabi said, you've just oppressed me. You've just done dhulman. Now imagine all the other Sahabi are preparing mentally. You need to prepare yourself for such kind of a battle and war. You need to mentally prepare yourself. So they are preparing themselves, and this Sahabi comes out with this. He says, you've oppressed me. To Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, imagine they were ready to, kill him first. And then the kuffar. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even at that time, he lifts his garment up and says, take your revenge. because I don't want you to come in the hereafter. Huquq al-ibad. So the Sahabi comes from behind and he hugs Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says, I think this is the last time probably we're going to meet. And the last meeting I wanted with you is when my neck is with your neck and my heart is with your heart. And then he leaves it. And this is why he did it, basically. SubhanAllah. This was the love they had for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, battle is to commence now. So they are coming closer to each other. They are coming very, very close to each other. Now, before a fight, before a war, if you probably watched movies or some some shows about wars of the past, you must have seen there used to be a contest at the beginning, right before the actual war. There used to be a one-on-one contest. So what happened was, Ali radiallahu anhu, Hamza radiallahu anhu, and another Sahabi, they came at the front. First they used to have one-on-one battles, and then the actual war would start. So these three, and on the other side you had Shayba, you had Waleed, not me, you had Shayba, you had Waleed, and you had one of the other kuffar. And these people, they were Utbah. And from the Sahabi you had Ubaidah, and from the kuffar you had Utbah. So they all fought amongst themselves. The Muslims were victorious. Utbah did get the leg of Ubaidah radiallahu anhu, but then Ali radiallahu anhu and Hamza radiallahu anhu. Hamza was, Asadullah, he was the lion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ali radiallahu anhu, we know how powerful he was. So they had finished their people. They had finished Shayba and they had finished Waleed. And then Utbah was finished by Ali radiallahu anhu and Hamza radiallahu anhu, because he had already injured Ubaidah radiallahu anhu. So Muslims were victorious in the pre-battle, one-on-one duel. Now, the battle began. They started full-on, full-fledged. And what used to happen is, there used to be a front, and then in the army, there used to be a qalb. There used to be where the VIPs used to be right in the middle. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there. Your leader had to be protected. And Abu Jahl on the other side. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was in the qalb, he began reading 2 rakat nafil. And he started crying. And Ali radiallahu anhu came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He seen him cry, and he seen him say in sajda, say Ya Hayy Ya Qayyum, Ya Hayy Ya Qayyum. And he's going back into the battle, and it's a full-on war right now. People are, hitting each other, killing each other, and a lot of the Sahaba are getting killed, a lot of the Kuffar are getting killed. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gets up from. I'm really rushing through this, but the Sahaba used to say, we wish we could show you that scene, because when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Subhanallah, sayuhzamul jam'u wa yuwalluna ad-dubur, that these people now I know will be victorious, and they will just they will back off, they will run away, because the angels started descending. Subhanallah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much. Shows your reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even during war or wherever, you have to carry on doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, carry on relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when the kuffar had left, you know what Abu Jahl did? Abu Jahl, he also brought entertainment with him. He goes, because after we are victorious, they were so confident and they had so much pride that after we are victorious, we are going to celebrate there, and we are also going to celebrate when we come back. So he had bought entertainment, singers, and all these people with him, because we are going to be victorious. He was so confident. But Muslims were relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muslims, all they had was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had tawakkul. But the kuffar had pride, Muslims had tawakkul. And this is what resulted in the angels descending. 1,000 angels descended. And then 2,000 more. Eventually there were 5,000 angels and 313 Sahaba who were fighting the people of Makkah, the kuffar of Makkah. And a lot of incidents happened, loads of incidents happened, but there was a particular person there who everyone wanted to kill. It was Abu Jahl. Now Abu Jahl was, to be fair to him, he was a very, very strong man. Very strong man, an expert fighter. And now there was Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu. He was standing, you know, when you're in a saf, you always want strong people with you, so that when you fight, they can support you in that fight. Like when we play football, for example, you want good people on your team. You play better, right? That's how in war. So Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, he's thinking, he wanted some really strong people by his side. And when he looked besides him, there were Mu'adh and Mu'awwid radiallahu anhuma, two young boys. And he was thinking, now I have to fight for them and for myself, because these people, what they're going to fight. So each of them is poking him, saying, who's Abu Jahl? Tell us. Because these were kids from Ansar. They were from Ansar, and they were children of Athra radiallahu anha. Athra radiallahu anha had 7 sons, and all 7 were fighting in this battle at this time. So these were special kids. So these kids, they're saying, show us Abu Jahl. He goes, okay, I'll show you when I see him. He goes, stop pestering me. First of all, I have to fight for you lot, and now you're pestering me at the same time. But they go, no, we want to kill Abu Jahl. He said, what are you going to do with Abu Jahl? Abu Jahl is massive. But anyway, when he sees Abu Jahl, he showed him that's Abu Jahl. Both of them ran to Abu Jahl. One of them went towards his face, towards his eye, and one of them towards his leg. And they just brought Abu Jahl down. And his animal at the same time. So Abu Jahl is injured now. Abu Jahl is injured. He's on the ground. He knows someone's going to kill him now. But these people, because of the battle, because it was a fierce battle, you know, everyone's, you know, it's a war. So they get sort of, they go elsewhere without realizing. And Abu Jahl is lying there. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu sees Abu Jahl and he jumps on him. He looks at Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is very, very, you know, skinny, as they say. Very thin. There's a hadith about that as well, which I can't go into at the moment. I've not got enough time. But Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu is jumping on him. And Abu Jahl looks at him and he goes, can no one better come to kill me? He says, you're so thin, I don't want you to kill me. He goes, okay, if you're going to kill me, look at this guy's pride. He goes, if you kill me, just kill me from the middle chest. Because when all the heads will be lined up, my head should be on top. Should be over everyone. That's how much pride this man had. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu obviously did not listen to him, he just killed him. So Abu Jahl was killed in this way. There was other people, Umayyah bin Khalf. Do you know who Umayyah bin Khalf is? Umayyah bin Khalf? Bilal radiallahu anhu, who was tortured by Bilal radiallahu anhu. He was also he was also killed. He was killed by the Ansar. Bilal radiallahu anhu seen him and he asked the Ansar to kill him. And Abu Jahl, who was the Fir'aun of this ummah, was known to Sahaba as the Fir'aun of this ummah, was also killed. Now, battle happened. Eventually, Muslims won. Muslims, were victorious. Alhamdulillah, the angels descended. But the ultimate lesson that we learn from the Battle of Badr is the reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much reliance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where it took them. Where reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took 313 people. And something similar was seen in the jihad in Afghanistan against Russia. A lot of people, scholars have written books. In our time, the closest we've seen to this kind of reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was in, when the Muslims fought in Afghanistan against Russia. So reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these important occasions is very, very important. And then obviously there are a lot of other things that happened. The war booty came and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the dead were put in the well, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he returned to Madinah Munawwara, with all the joy of winning the battle, it was very, very sad news to welcome Muslims, which was that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's daughter, Ruqayya radiallahu anha, had passed away, who was the wife of Uthman radiallahu anhu. So Uthman radiallahu anhu, they had buried Ruqayya just when Muslims entered Madinah Munawwara. Khair. Inshallah, we'll carry on in our next session. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to act upon whatever has been said. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.